Oh my goodness, what a game. What a win for Auburn.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We're dapping up with the Darrell Dapprich, Montgomery radio legend, live from Neville Arena. We just saw the Auburn Tigers pull it out. Man, it felt like a few days ago until that final offensive possession. Auburn wins 75-74, Darrell, in a game where this Auburn team it was labeled as a must-win, and it was in every sense of those words. Incredible performance down the stretch. I mean, Keshan Murphy is the story of this game, but goodness gracious, that those final few sequences for Auburn finally go Auburn's way.
I'll tell you what, obviously the most important thing is getting out of here with a win. It was a must-have. But Zach, if you peel back the onion a little bit, the way Auburn won this basketball game, to me, is almost just as important that they won. Number one, we talked about it. We come on a little bit early and talk to each other before we go live. And I said, man, they are so due like a buzzer beater or something to happen late in the game just to give them some confidence. That happened. They were down 9, came back, took the lead, got the game in control by 6, blew the lead, right? But then came back from that. It did not fold. Now, look, Kentucky is going to be kicking themselves with not being able to inbound it with 14 seconds in the push-off. And it was a push-off. But it was nice to see somebody else implode late and do something, right? And so, look, this is a huge win for Auburn. Obviously, what it does for its resume and the NCAA tournament. But I think more than that, Zach, what it does emotionally and mentally for this team with a belief system now with 3 of the next 4 very, very winnable games.
Yeah, I mean, when we were kind of going over the last 6 and then obviously leading into this game, those final 5 games, it's like, gosh, Kentucky at home and Bama on the road are tough, but those other 3 in between are super winnable. Now I think this changes the perspective of all of these games now. If you can find a way to win these next few in addition to this game that you just pulled off, yeah, it's cloaked in controversy to some extent. There's going to be some people that say, oh my goodness, the refs gave it to whatever. It doesn't matter. That's not how this works. You can't just pick and choose, which times a game is decided by an official and which way it goes, because Auburn's been on the wrong end of that plenty of times. But this call was correct. I mean, I don't think there was any wiggle room about it at all. The call was correct. He did push off, and then Auburn made the most of it despite the ball kind of bouncing around to a few different guys. Thankfully, it went in at the end.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about officiating, you can talk about the Texas A&M game. You can talk about those 2 phantom calls that happened in the first half that absolutely was a 5-point swing, gave Kentucky 5 points. I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to even out at the end of the year. Auburn needed to have, something good happen. They had some things where they imploded themselves. There was some, issues with Texas A&M. So whatever they got tonight, they earned and they deserved. And I think, Auburn was doing a really good job underneath the basket on that inbound play, Zach. And I think that guy had to push off to get separation because they were really doing a good job with covering every man on the inbounds. I thought he was going to get a 5-second. So, look, we've talked about officiating a lot during the year, but we've never really said, hey, that's the reason why somebody lost and that kind of thing. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what an incredible moment. So you're there at Neville. Talk about the vibes and energy. I mean, you've been covering this team for a long time. I mean, I can't imagine it's where it has been, but down the stretch there, especially for the game winner, I imagine that was pretty electric there.
It was as close to the electricity and the vibe in the building that it was during the peak time, during Bruce's peak time, when this place was a sixth man. And I will say, we talked about it midweek. There was a challenge drop. We needed the students to be lit. We needed this crowd to be into it. And to their credit, when Kentucky went up 4 under a minute, they never left, and they stayed on their feet, and they cheered and they yelled, and it got loud. And I will say they did a good job. This crowd, this place, this atmosphere came to life. The old ghosts were roaming the court again, and it helped, I think, late propel and give those players some energy to get that done.
Yeah.
And I want to just say this too. I mean, at the end of the day, the DAP streak in Neville remains intact. Let's go.
Which is really what's the most important thing here.
I mean, you never mess with a winning streak, though. Even if it doesn't mean anything, you still don't take your chance, right?
Yeah, if I'm Stephen Pearl, I'm making sure you're at every single game moving forward.
Yeah.
But, at least the home ones. Looking at this big picture, does this do something emotional? I mean, this team has been in a rut. They've been in an absolute rut over the last 2 weeks or so. I can't imagine how much this changes things in the locker room right now, in the locker room getting ready for practice throughout the week. I mean, this couldn't have come at a better time. Like, yeah, a lot of the time talking about this game throughout the week, the tone and conversation has been, if Auburn loses, then these things happen or don't happen. There hasn't been a lot of chatter of like, if Auburn does win this game, what potentially happens. And it's, I think it could be some potentially pretty good things.
No, I think you make an excellent point. It absolutely does something emotionally and mentally for this team. This was an infusion tonight. If you can see how the players responded when the clock hit triple digits, how they circled up around the AU at midcourt, you could just see the life and it looked different. And, I've been here for all the wins this year. There's definitely an infusion of energy and belief. And we can say all the cliches, shot in the arm. It's different. I mean, you can see what this did mentally and emotionally for this team. What you wanted to do now is propel you, give you some belief, give you those good feelings that, hey, our season's not over. We're a good team. We're a tournament team. And, oh, by the way, it does take away. You've played sports. I've played sports. I've coached. There is a mental roadblock until you win something like this that completely takes away and erases that in your mind. Oh, no, here we go again. Yeah. When you win a game like that, that goes away. You can draw on getting that W.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I agree with that. All right, let's talk about some of the good and then some of the frustrating and bad that came with it. But goodness gracious, Keshan Murphy, more on him in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at 5 Hour Energy. 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft is coming with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like confetti craze, fruity rainbow, cotton candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set. The flavors are ready. I've got my number one pick for the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft. Mine is grape. Yours is cherry, right?
Cherry. Let's go.
Cherry. Find your new favorite flavor of 5 Hour Energy shots today. Available at 5hourenergy.com and on Amazon. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. Auburn was a 3.5-point favorite. They do not cover. I do not care. But if you took Kentucky plus the points, you did win. Head over to FanDuel today. They've got an experience. You can experience the NBA Finals live and in person. They've got a sweepstakes going on there. If you use a future profit boost and bet on a future, you can get entered for a chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And of course, today's show brought to you by our friends at Alumni Hall. Darrell, you love Alumni Hall. I love Alumni Hall. It's where we get all of our Auburn gear. Strongly recommend it. That's where I get all of my Auburn stuff. They've got 2 physical locations in Auburn and Opelika. And also you can check them out at alumnihall.com. Thank you to Alumni Hall for partnering with Locked On Auburn. The Auburn Tigers stun the Kentucky Wildcats 75-74, and you can tell because there's a lot of mad Kentucky people in here, which is objectively hilarious, and it's I just inject it into my veins. Keshan Murphy, Darrell Dapprich, unbelievable. 9 of 14 for 25 points, made the only three that he made, and what a massive three that was.
Huge.
Goodness gracious. I mean, this is the Keshan Murphy game, and it should be referred to as such.
Absolutely. I mean, you could tell he was locked in early, Zach, he was the only one that seemed to be making his bunnies around the basket. And part of that was because he was just throwing it down on people's heads. He wasn't taking any chances. And he was very, very locked in, very intense. And, of course, like you said, the biggest shot of the game, in my opinion, other than that tip at the buzzer, was the three. And he was rebounding the basketball. He was playing good defense on Marino.
Yep.
I'll tell you, the one thing I wanted to bring up too when we were talking early, I guess his name is Owa. He was killing Auburn. He was killing Owe. He was killing Auburn.
He used to be at Oklahoma, Darrell.
He had 4 fouls with 7 minutes left to go in the basketball game, and I don't think Auburn went at him the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Would have been huge to get him out of the game because I think he was their leading scorer. And then Aberdeen, who was, the Florida guy last year, the transfer, he hit some big shots late. But to me, Zach, that makes it even more important. That makes it even more sweet because Auburn answered those. They didn't go on a run and win 14 going away cruising. They had to dig deep and overcome some adversity and overcome some big shots by Kentucky because Kentucky didn't lay down. You and I were talking about it. We said, this is so eerily similar to what happened at Mississippi State. And so this time Auburn answered, and I think that was bigger than if they would have held the lead. You want the W. I don't care if it was 38-36 pre-shot clock era. You just get the W. But I'll go back to what I said opening statements. The way Auburn won this game, to me, is going to do it such a service down the stretch here.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Auburn's remaining schedule and what needs to happen, what should happen, what we think will happen in a second. But, man, the path that you have paved now is much easier, much more manageable, and it takes less – it puts more control – puts you in more control and kind of takes less out of the hands of other people, which we definitely all want. But there were a few things Owe had 4 fouls for forever, and it didn't really seem like they capitalized on that. And there's just a few things throughout it, though, where it was a crucial possession with maybe 4 minutes left to go, Darrell, and Auburn had good defense, and there was some kind of contact below the basket. The ball goes out. It's out on, so it's still Kentucky's ball, and there were 2 seconds left. And the most obvious thing in the world is just don't foul. And then Sway fouls them as soon as the guy gets the ball right below the basket. And it's just you have to know there has to be some situational awareness. And sometimes it's play to play. And then sometimes I think it's zoomed out and maybe a little bit more in the macro, which I think would, they both fall under coaching, obviously. But there's just instances like that where it's just you've got to know certain things. Or with possessions where Jahad Pettiford's taking it down the floor in a key situation, and it's there's no adversity whatsoever, and it's just he turns it over. And it's how does that stuff keep happening where it's such a no-brainer, nobody's forcing you to do these things, and yet you keep choosing to do something that everything, anybody who knows anything about basketball saying, don't do that. So some of that's frustrating for sure.
Well, there's physical mistakes and there's mental mistakes. And I think Hall and Pettiford a couple times down the floor made some terrible physical mistakes, carelessness with the basketball, lazy, uninspired passes, getting stripped by trying to go behind your back in the lane. Okay, those things, they're physical. The Sway foul with 1.1 second on the shot clock. And the thing about that, Zach, that really didn't do justice was that Marino didn't catch the ball clean. So he caught it and was kind of fumbling around with it, and you really bailed him out because I don't even know if he would have been able to get off a clean shot or a good look with how he didn't have possession of it.
Sure.
So Yeah, that's a mental mistake by a freshman. There was some physical carelessness with Tahad and Hall that just kind of you just shake your head and you just go, why do you try to make that pass? Why do you try to go 1-on-3 and put the ball on the floor to get stripped? So those are difficult to coach out of somebody because they're doing that on instinct. The foul with 1.1 second you'll learn from, and you would hope that Sway wouldn't do that again.
Yeah, at least he's a freshman where it's like, okay, all right, that's a good teaching opportunity. Thankfully, it didn't cost us.
Yeah.
So obviously Keshan Murphy was fantastic. I'll tell you, Elijah Freeman had some moments tonight, and wow, he was second on Auburn.
Hey, Zach, I couldn't tell because everyone lost their minds in here, and I didn't have my glasses on. Who actually tipped that ball in? Who got the winning tip?
I think it went to Freeman.
Okay. Yeah, because I saw two guys touched it. I mean, there was 3 shots at the basket.
Yeah, it was Freeman. So Murphy missed it, and then Freeman got credit for the rebound and the score. So
that was big. That was big.
Yeah, Overton, I think, was efficient with his shots. 10 points on 3 of 6 shooting, including a big one there at the end, obviously. Tahad going 2 of 9, not ideal. Keshan Hall going 3 of 15, not ideal, but thankfully you had other guys step up.
Well, let's put this in perspective too. I believe, and you may have it in front of you so that you can give the exact statistic, but it's my belief that Auburn was something like 4 of 20 on layups.
9 of 26.
Okay, so they hit 5 more than I thought, but they missed it. 9 of 26, and you still win the game. I'm trying to look at the half full option tonight.
That's definitely the half full way to do it. 100%.
But if you're just 16 of 26, which is poor around the glass, right? You win that game going away. So I don't know.
Yeah, and the free throw line obviously was huge. Auburn went 20 of 24. Kentucky went 14 to 17. I mean, that's massive. Kentucky shot better from you overall. Both teams shot 26% from 3. So Kentucky made 1 more 3 than Auburn did. Like, it really came down to the free throws, thankfully, which is
I want to say this too, from a perspective standpoint. This isn't a post-game athletics show. You and Lindsay do the baseball one. But what a difference 5 days makes for the overall perception or feeling of Auburn athletics.
Yeah, Brad Law and I was talking about that on Village Vice. We're like, what an opportunity.
Yeah. You blow a game to Mississippi State, you lose to Cincinnati 8-0 in baseball, and now you're coming off a 2-game win streak, including a big victory over a ranked Florida State team, and then this. It can change in such a hurry in 4 days.
Yeah, if baseball beats Louisville tomorrow and they sweep that tournament, and then we've got this massive win over Kentucky, it's like, okay. All right. We're going to figure things out. Maybe things aren't as bad as we think they are. I do think there are plenty of questions and problems with this team.
But some got answered tonight. I'm going to say there's a litany of problems.
Well said.
But some of the issues got put to bed a little bit tonight in the moment. We need sustainability on that. But in the moment, some ails were cured tonight.
Tahad Pettiford seems injured, seems banged up. I don't think that's all of the, inconsistency issues, but I definitely think it's part of it. Would you handle that over the next few games, Darrell?
Well, the problem is you don't have a true backup point guard.
You can't play Mashalik for 20 minutes.
No, and Overton's your backup point guard, but he is just that in spurts. He's that just to let Tahad get a 3 or 4 minute blow or whatever. A lot of times you can do that coming out of a media timeout. So you go ahead and put Overton in then, and then you let him play for 2 minutes, and Tahad actually in real time sits 5 because of the media timeout. It's the only thing you can do, and then you spell him occasionally with Blake. But I don't Balake hadn't been getting it done from the offensive point of view at all. He's
and no chance for Magwood, right? You don't think
and they're overplaying Blake. I mean, they're not even allowing him. I mean, they're like giving him that spot on the floor and overplaying other guys and switching to double somebody else and like daring him to take it because he's not shooting the basketball. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's tough. I mean, it's a tough situation to be in. You would hope that if Magwood would have been that dude giving you some minutes, you don't have it. And, I don't know how you do that down the stretch. It's going to be very tough to manage load management for Tahad.
All right, let's play our favorite game. We can't do next 5 games. We got to do next 4. That's how many games are left in the season. So chat, let us know, what is Auburn's record over these last 4 games. Auburn goes to Oklahoma on Tuesday, 8:00 tip on a Tuesday night. You know how I feel about that, Darrell Dapprich. They host Ole Miss a week from today. They host LSU next Tuesday. And then, of course, in the regular season, going to Tuscaloosa for a Saturday night game against Alabama. These next 3 games, Darrell, are so winnable. I think they win them. I think Auburn goes 3-1.
So do I. Remember, I kept sticking with the 4-2. However, I think the Mississippi State-Kentucky thing got flip-flopped. I think we both agreed that Auburn was going to win one of those. We probably thought it was going to be the Mississippi State. So you've just erased that loss is what you've done on Wednesday night, although you're kicking yourself going, if you'd have snuck one on the road there.
Can you imagine how we feel if, if you don't have somebody just go totally nuclear on you in the first half earlier this week?
And absolutely played like hot dog water tonight. He was terrible tonight against the bad South Carolina team who beat Mississippi State. How about that?
Gosh, that's frustrating.
So, it's
so frustrating.
But I say 3-1 as well. I've said 4-2 all along during the last 6. So I'm going to stick with that. Say 3-1. That'll get Auburn to 9 wins in the conference. I think they only need 8. I think they only need to win 2 of their next 4 to get in the NCAA tournament. But let's go ahead and
really. So you think if they just win their 2 home games and lose in Norman and in Tuscaloosa, they go?
I've said before the Mississippi State deal, when there were 6 games left, that Auburn needed to win
3-3 get you in.
Yeah. So, but I think they win 4. I think they go over that line and they win 4.
Man, what a difference! Just that last tip in by Elijah Freeman changes everything.
It really does.
So nice on this side of it, because you've been on the other side of it so many times lately.
Think about what 1.1 seconds could mean to Auburn's season, how that completely could flip if it goes the other way. That one play with 1 second. And Auburn's had things happen in seasons before in athletics where 1 second was a big thing. 1.1 second could have completely changed the complexion of this season and this team.
It change everything.
Because if you lose this, I just realistically, I don't see how you win out. And I think you would have had to win out because that resume builder. Now Kentucky's lost 3 in a row. So they're in a little bit of trouble, a little bit of a tailspin.
Has that happened under Pope yet? Is that the first time?
First time.
Wonder how they feel about that. Can't imagine they're too fired up.
They're a salty bunch tonight.
Yeah, well, a lot of them are in the chat, which is great.
Yeah,
so glad they're watching. All right, any final thoughts on this one, Darrell Dapprich?
Just what
huge,
outside
incredible.
Of the Tennessee game 3 or 4 years ago that Auburn needed to win at home. That was a must-win, just an absolute huge must-win. And again, it's a resume builder. It's something that now gives you – I don't care that Kentucky's lost 3 in a row. It matters still when you beat Kentucky. That's 5 really, really good wins on Auburn's resume this year. With I think I read in some things earlier that the announcers for this basketball game for ESPN said that Auburn had the toughest strength of schedule in the country.
I've seen him as the second toughest a lot.
I think they had to wait until after this game, and that may have been
maybe
what moved the needle. Yeah. So
wonder if they'll drop with over the next 3: Oklahoma, Ole Miss, LSU. I wonder if that'll.
yes, it will. But still,
But it's still going to be one of the toughest.
Yeah, the net should still be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
five.
and I mean we've seen the the NCAA tournament reward that, and so for all the folks it's like we're off the bubble or we're on the bubble, it's like they really weight that pretty heavy.
And they have 5 really good wins. 3 of the 5 are excellent wins, but they have 5 really good wins, and that's all you really could hope for. And they could pick up 1 or 2 more really good wins. Obviously on the road against Alabama, and then if you get a nice win in the SEC tournament, in the second round or whatever.
The SEC tournament thing is interesting because we're going to get a lower seed than we have been. And so the opportunity to get an extra win will be there.
Yeah, I don't think it'll move seed line, but it would just cement again. I mean, I think that Auburn, if they beat Oklahoma and then come back and beat Ole Miss next Saturday night, I think they're in the tournament, and then they're playing LSU and Alabama just for seeding or whatever, or to cement that. So
what's the highest? I mean, can they get higher than a 7 at this point?
No. And I think getting to a 7 is going to take some. I
think 7's like best case scenario.
Yeah, I think right now they're a 9. If the tournament started today, they're a 9. And like we talked about, who cares? It's just what uniform you wear, uniform color. If you're a 9 seed, you're playing 8. It's just you're the road team. It's just your uniform. You're playing on a neutral floor. Who cares? I think they could get to 8. I think if they won out, they'd be 7. That's my opinion. If they won out,
regardless of SEC tournament?
Regardless of SEC tournament, if they won out, I think they'd be a 7. I think if they do what we think they're going to do or what we predicted they do and go 4-2, they're an 8. I think if they only win, 2 of these next 4, then they're a 9.
Yeah, I mean, you're most likely an 8 or a 9 at this point.
That's okay. I mean, with what you've had happen.
That's what happens when you fall apart, the previous 2 or 3 weeks. It's just, it's part of it.
Yep.
I just want in it at this point. Let's just see what happens. Because you've got the talent. So we'll see. Darrell, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Wednesdays and Fridays with you. Locked on Auburn. Tomorrow night should be a fun barn cast with you and Kyle Rush at 8:00 live on the barn. And then, we go live after all these basketball games. Tonight was a fun one. The excitement and the buzz behind me when we went live, when people were leaving this arena.
Oh, so fun.
Was palpable. I mean, I was getting my chair tapped. People were excited and, they were loving it. So, and that was a fun environment to be in. The energy was off the charts.
Yeah, that's awesome. Quick programming note, Lindsay and I will go live after the Auburn baseball game tomorrow against Louisville. That game is at 10:30, so we'll probably go live around 1:30 or 1-ish. We'll see. But yeah, we'll be live to recap the weekend there as well. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked on Auburn.